What's going on, guys? Steve with the MMA Minute here. This weekend, we have a UFC fight night headlined by Jan Blachowicz taking on Aleksandar Rakic. I'm going to give you my main card predictions, followed by my best bets for the prelims, my best bets for the main card, and then a parlay of the night. So let's get into it. First fight of the night here, we have Jake Hadley taking on Allan Nascimento. Jake Hadley, the minus 210 favorite. Nascimento, the plus 175 underdog. I actually think these two guys really stack up well against each other. Hadley, 5'7", 70-inch reach. Nascimento, 5'8", 69-inch reach. Both are very capable as strikers. Both are very capable grapplers. I'd say, if anything, probably the bread and butter of both guys is taking the fight to the mat. So I kind of seeing that be a stalemate, and I would see this probably being more of a stand-up fight. And again, both guys looking very good. Hadley probably going to be the more technical, crisp, clean striker, whereas Nascimento is that loose, athletic style, creative striker, will throw kind of a more wide variety of attacks looking to end the fight. But I think Jake Hadley, coming out of Cage Warriors, he's battle-tested. He's looked very good. He got the Dana White Contender Series win back in 2021 with a round 2 submission. I just think he'll be a little bit better everywhere. He'll be the more technical guy. So I don't love the minus 210 line. I do think this probably could be a little bit closer just because they do match up very well. So I am going to go with Jake Hadley here, and I think he wins this one by decision. Fight number 2, we have Frank Camacho taking on Manuel Torres. Frank Camacho, the plus 120 underdog. Torres, the minus 150 favorite. You have the new age fighter, the up-and-comer in Manuel Torres, taking on Frank Camacho, who has over 30 professional fights. He's been in the UFC for quite some time now, so we don't really know what we're going to see. These are always tricky ones to fight. Is Manuel Torres actually ready? When you go back and look at his regional competition, it's very low level, fighting guys who are 0-0, 0-1. He's fighting cans. It's actually interesting because both of his losses are by submission. The first guy, I think, was just 0-1 in his pro career, and the other guy was just 0-0 in his pro career. So it'd be quick to say, oh, okay, maybe he's not UFC level. But then when he actually goes into the Dana White Contender Series, he picks up that round 1 knockout. And you go back, the guy is a true finisher. He has finished 11 out of his 12 pro fights. The tape looks pretty decent on this guy. So for me, it's going to be difficult to pick Frank Camacho because he just hasn't looked great in the UFC. He has faced a very high level of competition. I will give him that. But he most recently just lost to Justin James inside of a minute in round 1. And that was a short notice for Justin James. Camacho was, I think, a minus 330 favorite. And he goes in there, he gets caught a couple times. And it's not a good look for Frank Camacho, who has been stopped before. He just hasn't looked great in the UFC. I'm thinking his better days are probably behind him. And so for those reasons, I really want to pick Frank Camacho, but I am going to go with Manuel Torres here. And I think he does get the job done by finish. So let's go with the round 2 TKO. Fight number 3, Katlyn Chookagian taking on Amanda Ribas. We have Chookagian as the minus 175 favorite. Ribas can be had for the plus 150 underdog. And this is an interesting fight because you have Amanda Ribas, who's actually coming up from 115 to fight at 125. And I just really think that's a bad decision on her end and on her team's end. And she's going against a 125er in Katlyn Chookagian, who pretty much beats 90% of the division and only loses to the elite of the elite in Jessica Andrade and Valentina Shevchenko. And she pretty much beats everyone else. So this is going to be a huge step up for Amanda Ribas, who most recently beat Verna Handaroba. And she looked good in that fight. She won 2 of the 3 rounds for sure. The striking was solid. She was forward moving. She was aggressive. She was mixing it up well, throwing multiple shot combos. And of course, we know she has the submission threat off her back. She can use it offensively for sure. But again, all of these things I just think are much better at 115. And she's moving up to 125 into Katlyn Chookagian's world. Katlyn Chookagian is a phenomenal striker. She's huge for this division, high level of output. She has the cardio. When you come in to try to close distance, she's piecing you up. When you keep her on the outside, she's also piecing you up. She knows how to win rounds. She's never been submitted in the UFC. I just think for a 3-round fight, she's going to go in there and do what she has pretty much done throughout her entire career. And we're looking at another classic decision win for Katlyn Chookagian here. Next fight, Davey Grant taking on Luis Smolka. Davey Grant is the minus 280 favorite. Luis Smolka, the plus 230 underdog. With Luis Smolka, he has just been inconsistent. I think, he was cut from the UFC a couple years back. And then when he got re-signed, it's just been win, loss, very up and down. His last 6 fights, 3 of his wins, he has finished. 3 of his losses, he has been finished. Most recently, it was against Vince Morales. And that happened in round 1. He got caught by a big right hook. And honestly, it didn't even look like it was that big of a right hook. I think it just landed so clean that he went down. But he definitely likes to move forward. He puts himself into danger. And that's going to be a really bad decision against a guy like Davey Grant, who I'll say he has the wrestling in his back pocket. He used to fight with a wrestling base, but now he's fallen in love with the hands. And it's actually looked very good. He has a win over Marlon Vera. He knocked out an up-and-comer in Jonathan Martinez. He fought Chito Vera again. He looked solid. He can go all 3 rounds. He's durable. He has power in his shots. He knows how to win fights. So I actually like Davey Grant in the spot. He is the big favorite. I'm not sure I love that price tag so much, but I think he does get this done. I think he will pick up the finish. Give me the round 2 TKO for Davey Grant. And on to the co-main event of the night, we have Ryan Spann taking on Ion Cutelaba. Ryan Spann, the plus 175 underdog. Ion Cutelaba, the minus 210 favorite. That's a pretty big favorite here for someone like Ion Cutelaba, who definitely likes to kind of throw himself into the mix, definitely likes to get into the danger, into the fire. And Ryan Spann is a guy who he's massive for the division. He's 6'5", 79-inch reach. He has that one-shot knockout power. He has submissions on record. He can get the job done in many different ways. It makes him very dangerous. But I do think that's going to really limit him in this fight. I think he really kind of relies on that round 1 or early round 2 finish, whereas Ion Cutelaba, I think we saw him take a really big step forward in his career against Devin Clark, his most recent fight, where the cardio looked very good. He was able to land a couple big shots. He hurt Devin Clark early on. And then from that point on, he just utilized the wrestling nonstop, pressure, takedowns. He looked very good in that fight. And if that's the new version of Ion Cutelaba, if that's the best version I've ever seen of him. So if that's what we're going to get out of him, I think he's going to win this fight. I think he survives the Ryan Spann early onslaught, and then he just kind of chips away using that wrestling, using that newfound cardio, and he gets the job done. Officially, I'm going to go with Ion Cutelaba to win by unanimous decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he puts Spann away, say a late round 3 finish. And now the main event of the night, Jan Blachowicz, the former champ, taking on Aleksandar Rakic. Jan Blachowicz, again, coming in as an underdog at plus 150. Aleksandar Rakic, minus 175. Again, you have the former champ taking on the rising contender in Rakic, and this makes for a great fight. So Jan Blachowicz, I mean, we know the story, 2-4 in the UFC, and then all of a sudden just flips a switch and just starts winning a whole bunch of fights, which includes a 5-fight win streak where he beat Dominic Reyes for the vacant belt and defends against Israel Adesanya. And then after that, he does lose the belt to Glover Teixeira, and now that's where we stand at this point. But Jan Blachowicz, I mean, the Polish power is there. The counter-striking looks very good. Against Dom Reyes, we saw how vicious his body kicks were. This guy blitzes forward, multiple shot combinations. He's very dangerous. He's patient. He's calculated. And then even against Israel Adesanya, we saw the wrestling. He's a black belt BJJ, so the grappling was there. He is just this well-rounded mixed martial artist, which really makes him tough for anyone. And then you have Aleksandar Rakic, who's 6-1 in the UFC himself. He's nearly perfect. The only loss is to Volkan Ozdemir, which was a split decision loss. And that was a fight you definitely could have scored for him. So he could easily be 7-0 in the UFC right now. But he bounces back, gets a win over Anthony Smith, gets a win over Thiago Santos. You could say that was a boring fight. I call that a smart fight. His striking, his defense looks very solid. He's explosive. We saw it against Anthony Smith. The leg kicks came out, and he hurt Anthony Smith, legitimately hurt him for the remainder of the 3 rounds just by throwing some of those calf kicks. And he was able to rack up 12 minutes of control time. The top control was insane there. And then, we've even seen that before in one of his fights. I think it was Justin Ledette. He also scored 12 minutes of control time in that fight. So, yes, he is explosive on the feet. We've seen the round one knockouts from him, but he's also a capable wrestler who can rack up the control time. And historically, when you go back and look at Jan Blachowicz, a lot of his losses are to wrestling heavy attacks. Alexander Gustafsson, he had 4 takedowns with 10 minutes of control. Patrick Cummins had 3 takedowns, 7 minutes of control. Corey Anderson, I think, had 3 or 4 takedowns, more than 7 minutes of control. So there is a clear path to victory. Of course, the now champ Glover Teixeira went in there with his game plan to wrestle, to grapple. He submitted Jan Blachowicz. So I think that could be definitely a clear path to victory for Aleksandar Rakic. And when you pair that with his size, with his strength, with his explosiveness standing, I think he's just going to be the better fighter. I think he's going to wear Jan Blachowicz down with the wrestling. And I could even see this being more of like a round 4, round 5 type of finish. But probably more likely we're going to see the full 5 rounds, probably more of a boring fight, kind of like the Magomed Ankalaev versus Thiago Santos fight. I don't think Rakic is going to force anything here. He knows the position he is in. If he wins this fight, he's getting the title shot. So let's go Aleksandar Rakic by unanimous decision. Okay, and now for the bets of the night. Starting with the prelims, I have Maximov winning by submission or decision coming in at -190. I also like Tatsuro Taira by submission. That's at +225. And then Angela Hill as the underdog at +150. I think she is very much a live dog. Moving on to the best bets on the main card. First up, Jake Hadley and Nascimento over 2.5 rounds. Like I said before, these two match up very well, so that price is coming in at -175. Frank Camacho taking on Manuel Torres. I love the under here. 2 finishers, one a UFC veteran, one a new age up-and-coming fighter. I like this price at -190. Katlyn Chookagian by decision. I think she wins this fight outright, but she is a decision machine, so the +150 price tag looks very good. Davey Grant by TKO or KO. He's got heavy hands. He likes to strike. I think he will find his spots, so +100 is a great bet. And then in the main event, we have Aleksandar Rakic and Jan Blachowicz going over 3.5 rounds. This is geared towards Aleksandar Rakic winning the fight, using the wrestling, dragging this fight out, and that is a very tempting price at -130. And then the parlay of the night, I have Katlyn Chookagian winning outright at -170. Vivian Araujo, Andrea Lee goes over 2.5. That's at -310. And then again, I love that. Rakic Blachowicz over 3.5 rounds at -130. Parlay all 3 of those together, you get a nice +270 payout. And there you have it, guys. Those are my main event predictions, the bets of the night, the parlay of the night. Thanks for tuning in. This is Steve with the MMA Minute, and we will see you guys next time.